Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Team Barca. In today's video, we are previewing the big one. The big game, of course, El Classico, happening Saturday, 4 o'clock where I am in Copenhagen, and it's such an important game. Not just in terms of points, but also mentally. Whoever wins the first El Classico gets a huge boost from it, physically, mentally, heading into the next games. We have Champions League games coming up next week as well. So in today's video, we are talking about, of course, the preferred lineup, how I think they're going to line up, how I think they're going to play, but also who's the strongest team going into this game. That often has a lot to do with the outcome of the game. My prediction finally, and then of course, just a bit of preview in terms of Champions League next week. So let's get started. So the El Clasico, of course, is going to be a bit different than the ones I've watched myself at the stadium or on TV, because there aren't going to be any supporters at the ground. Of course, this is at home, it's at the Camp Nou, and that makes a big difference, not just for the players, but for the entire experience. But we need to carry on, we need to accept this. The whole world is hit by COVID at the moment, and therefore it's just the way it is. But how can we get into this the right mental state in terms of winning a game like this? Because it is important. It's important for winning La Liga. If we have the same number of points as them at the end of the season, but we beat them, we win the title, and therefore it does make a big difference. I do think Barcelona is heading into this game a lot stronger than Real Madrid. They have lost 2 games on the bounce. We lost one in the weekend, of course, against Getafe, but that was a very difficult game and it was just a 1-0 loss. But then we trashed the opponent in the Champions League 5-1 here in the midweek. And Real Madrid lost 3-2 to an extremely weak Shakhtar Donetsk. They had 11 first-team players out due to COVID, so it was a very young B-team lineup that they had on the pitch, and therefore I think Real Madrid really need to prove something in the El Clasico game this weekend. If we look at the lineup, I do think we're going to line up with something similar to what we did here in the midweek. I do think if we start from the back, Neto of course in goal, Sergio Roberto on the right, Longley and Araujo probably in at the center of the park, and then on the left side, Dest. Jordi Alba started training today. He might be able to make it for the game, but I personally wouldn't put him in to start with, at least. Maybe put him in after an hour, 70 minutes, something like that. We need to make sure that he doesn't get injured again. In the midfield, I think there's only one choice you can make, De Jong and Pjanic. It worked perfectly midweek. I think Pjanic looks much more mobile, just like I talked about a week ago in my preview. I do think Pjanic brings something entirely different to what Busquets does. Although Busquets is probably better at the short pass and cutting through lines, Pjanic has a much better vision for the long ball, and that's something we really need to use. If we do play with either Messi on the right wing and Ansu on the left, or Trincao or Griezmann, then it's going to be important to put those long balls behind the defensive line, especially if they do play with Marcelo at left back. He pushes up extremely high on the pitch, and therefore there's a lot of open space to really attack. I think in the middle of the park we're going to play Coutinho. He's played great. It could be Pedri. I'd love to see that. That would be exciting to have 2 17-year-olds on the pitch, but in my opinion it's going to be Coutinho. He's also played extremely well this season, so that's fine. Ansu on the left, you cannot play anybody else. In my opinion, it would be smart to put Dembélé on the right to really push them, use that pace to get in behind. But I do think it's going to be Griezmann on the right and then Messi on top. I hope we get to see Trincao, Pedri and Dembélé during the match. Of course, it all depends on how it turns out. But I really thought Dembélé had a big influence when he got brought on the pitch in the Champions League. Of course, it was a lot weaker opponent, but his dribbling and his speed just makes such a big difference in terms of attacking output. If we look to the Real Madrid lineup, Sergio Ramos might and might not be back. He is close to being back, but I do think it's a risk for them to place him in the game. But since they lost 2 games on the bounce, I do think it will be difficult for them not to play him. If we look to their attack, it's probably going to be Vinicius, Benzema and Asensio on top. Hazard is definitely out. He's out for a few weeks still with a lot of injuries. Kroos, Casemiro and Modric, that's the classic Real Madrid midfield. It's an old one, it's a very slow one. Hopefully we can play through them, but of course they're all good players. In the defensive line, that's going to be interesting. Carvajal is out, so they might play Lucas Hernandez or Nacho on the right back position. It could be Mendy, like they did in the Champions League. And then Varane and Militao might be those two, or Sergio Ramos if he gets brought in. Of course, Courtois on goal. Unfortunately, he's played extremely well for this season, but we hope to change that. I think it might be a very good game for Barcelona. I do think they're coming into this game much stronger, mentally, physically. They're just ready. They're just ready to prove the world wrong. That's how I feel. If we look to the prediction, I think Real Madrid is going to line up with two very close banks of four, and then play Vinicius and Benzema on top. So you're probably going to see Asensio push out on the right, and they really are going to defend deep, I think, and try to hit you on the counter, either using Asensio's speed or Vinicius. Vinicius is such a fast player, and he can really hurt you with his dribbling ability, but I do think we can contain him if we just try to push him outfield. He has a terrible shot, and his final pass really isn't that good, but if you allow him to dribble into field and make a cut-through pass, that could be dangerous for us if Benzema gets on the ball. Benzema really is the one player that's dangerous in terms of attacking output. I saw the game Real Madrid played last night where they had Luka Jovic on the pitch. What a terrible player, unfortunately for him at the moment. He didn't really prove any reason why he should be on the pitch. He looks more like an amateur player, really. Real Madrid usually hit us on the counter, and if we play PK in the central defense, then that's going to be a problem. I do think we need to play Araujo there to match the speed of Asensio, Benzema and Vinicius. That could be a good way to really counter their counter attacks. A way for us to break them down. Of course, Pjanic, like I mentioned, he could spring in balls over the top. You could push him out on the right side and really have him crossing the ball. I do think Messi is going to find a lot of space in between the lines. That can be great for us. The same goes for Coutinho, but we need to move the ball quickly. That really is something that has been lacking a bit here on the Koeman. Ansu Fati does it quite well, Dest does it well, and De Jong sometimes when he is allowed to push forward, but sometimes we just move the ball too slow, and the opponent can really catch you on the break if they win the ball. So we need to be careful of that. We need to move the ball quick, get it into the feet, and then finish our shots. If Griezmann gets a chance like he did against Getafe, he needs to put it away. If he doesn't, you need to pull him off, because obviously there's some very big issues with him mentally in terms of having the confidence to be the Barca number 9. He needs to finish chances like that, and therefore I do think he has a lot of things to prove in this game. My prediction overall, I think it's going to be a 2-1 to Barcelona. It might be tight, it could be a 3-1, but I'm optimistic that we're going to win the game. And if we look forward to the Champions League next week, it's against Juventus. Cristiano Ronaldo officially is not going to attend that game. Since we won the first game, I do think we need to put everything on the line in this one, in the El Clasico, and focus less on the Champions League game next week. That was a bit of preview. Of course, this is football, anything can happen. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I do think a 2-1 for Barcelona, that's quite a realistic outcome of the game. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. As always, put a comment down below, like the video if you like what you heard. Have a great day, and as always, enjoy the Spanish guitar on the way out.